I'm not afraid of somebody who knows 100 moves. I'm afraid of somebody who knows one move and they have performed it 1,000 times.
Hello, high achiever. Welcome to the Inside Job Journey podcast. I'm Tiana, a certified professional coach. I work with highly effective and driven people that are always striving for more, helping them define what that more is and learning what they really want. In this podcast, I want to bring you on a discovery journey where you can learn more about what's driving you to never settle. Hello, high achievers. Welcome to another episode of the Inside Job Journey podcast. Today with me, Lena Nasiakou. She is a L&D entrepreneur, and she's currently launching, you're in the launching phase, I think, of Labs, an upskilling platform for leaders. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you very much, Diana. It's a pleasure. I love working together with you, and I'm very, very happy to be part of your first launch of your podcast. And I'm very curious to hear what you want to discuss today, actually.
Let's start with what you're currently working on. I'm super curious about your work with labs and what are some of the challenges that you're addressing with this platform?
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur for 5 years already. So I'm originally from Greece. I built my company here in the Netherlands, and I've been on my own for quite some time. So I now decided to partner with a great business person, like great entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur from the UK. And together we created Labs, which is, as you said, an upskilling platform for leaders. So we provide workshops, non-boring workshops always, but also asynchronous material for leaders to digest and to receive them at their own tempo and time. So this is what we are doing. And as you understand, because we are in the beginning, there are lots of challenges coming up, lots of new learnings for me also, learning how to work within a larger team. I was always surrounded by freelancers, but now we have our team. We are a team of 5 people. We have our own we have our own meetings, we have our own rituals, and I'm adjusting to that, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that must be quite a change, because I've seen in my career when I had to switch from working individually to working in a team and really spend time agreeing on who does what are the things that I can work toward and where I bring my strengths. I think that's quite a change. How are you working on that? What are some of the things that you're doing to make sure that you are going toward the right path?
So I guess I don't have like a perfect answer to that, but what I try is not rocket science. At first, I try to communicate a lot with the team to make sure that things are happening on a daily basis, so people don't feel left behind, and there is alignment within the team members. So then there is so much of difficult conversations happening like almost on a weekly basis. And I'm so happy because this is one of the offerings that we have at Labs, difficult conversations. So now I feel them so much because I have to use the own frameworks and the tools and everything much more than before, because it's a big change for me. And it's how it works with organizations who go through change. Then we need tools, they need tools, we all need tools to cope through that. So that's one way. The other way is that I seek out for support from my friends, my family, my partner, who can really endlessly listen to me when I'm like, oh my God, what a day today, and this and that happened. And I have my own coach and my own therapist. So these are the ways that I cope with that. And as a cherry on top, already, I started dancing, which is something that I used to do in the past. It brings me so much energy and inspiration for the programs, because I use a lot of movement in my programs. So that also helps me. On the way to the dance school, I'm on my bike and I'm like, I want to go back home. I want to go back home. I don't want to leave work. And then when I'm there, it's like, oh, it was so good. It feels so nice. It gives me energy.
Yes. So three things you mentioned. One is to have the tools and the frameworks, and maybe we can touch that further to maybe share it with our listeners. Two is having a support system, and I love how you're being very open and honest. Even your own coach, your therapist, it it doesn't have to be a lonely experience. It doesn't mean that if you're building something, you have to be on your own. You can ask for help. You can lean on people. And three, leaning on your passion of dancing and just getting outside of your head in a way and just moving your body. I love that. I love that.
Yes, exactly what you said. That's a perfect summary.
So let's talk a little bit about the frameworks. And you mentioned difficult conversations. And I guess in everyone's life, there are so many difficult conversations to be had. If I think about myself, I have difficult conversation, or people like to say that they have difficult conversations with me.
Are you taking that as a compliment?
Of course, because I'm a very honest and very open person, so it means that they are hearing me out, so they need to adjust a little bit. We all need to adjust. So we were mentioning a framework or tools. What are some of the things that you think can help in a difficult conversation?
So there are a couple of frameworks that I use that they come either from neurobiology or psychology or education actually, and they help me, and I hope we can share a couple so that we can help out more people as well. So one of them is the transactional analysis, because when we are transactional analysis is a very it's a classical psychological framework that comes from back in the days from 1950s, developed by Eric Bernet. And it's very much used in leadership because it brings a lot of self-awareness of what is really happening in a difficult conversation. It's a framework that I love using with leaders in particular, because when you are in a leadership position, you fall into a very specific ego state, which is the critical or the nurturing parent. And I see you laughing, so you are also a parent yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead and explain a little more. So this theory says, so there are three ego states. There are the parent, the adult, and the child. And the parent is the ego state that we are in when we think and behave and act as our parents or other authoritative figures did in the past. So we could be a bit nurturing, as in, tell me, how can I help you? Can I support you? Can I encourage you? And we can also be critical and tough and strict and bring order and structure. So two different states. And then you have the child state. Of course, the child is when you, instead of reacting from the here and now, you are reacting based of how you were as a child. So it could be that you were a child that is a bit more adapted to what the parents want, feels guilty immediately, seeks for approval on the outside, which is something I know you're working with high achievers. So that's something that we high achievers have, that we are seeking for external validation. So that's the child. And then you also have the free child, which is creative and does what it wants, doesn't care about other people, so more autonomous one. And then we have the adult. And the difference with the adult is that there are not two parts connected to it, just one adult. And it's not that it's better from the other states, no, but what is important with the adult state is that it acts in the here and now. So there is a difficult conversation, let's say, with me and my co-founder. If I react, I'm telling you, I'm going immediately into the parent mode, into the critical parent mode. So I'm like, why didn't this happen? And I wanted things like that because I'm responsible for the product, and then I'm getting really upset. And this when I react from the past. But if I manage to put myself in reacting from the here or responding from the here and now, then I can be in the adult state and see, aha, we are equals. We are both co-founders. Or the same when I have conversations, let's say, with my team members. And even if I am the leader, still we are both adults in the conversation. Everybody brings their own expertise and their own perspective, actually. So this is a small framework that I use, a simple framework that we use to bring a lot of awareness to leaders on how can you really observe yourself, look at yourself when you're in a critical conversation or difficult conversation, and see if you want to change, see if you want to make a different action next time.
And I like how you bring self-awareness. It's such a big topic, I think, in everyone's growth. And it's hard from one side to build it because it's a lot of hard work building that self-awareness, and probably at the beginning stopping yourself from reacting immediately and just stepping back. But it can become like part of who you are and part of how you react naturally without having to always pause or step aside or say, I can't do it right now because I'm not in the right mindset to answer to your...
You're right, but training builds habit. It's not something that can happen from one day to another. But if you really practice, it works. You know, there is a saying, I don't remember who said it, Jackie Chan or something, in one of the movies, that I'm not afraid of somebody who knows 100 moves. I'm afraid of somebody who knows one move and they have performed it 1,000 times. So
I think it was originally from Bruce Lee, I think. But Jackie Chan probably used it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because it's true. We can't be jack of all trades. And I think a lot of self-awareness is around, okay, you may be interested in 10 different things, but what are your core strengths? What are the core things that you can practice? And even those that are not core, but you know are important, how do you commit to doing them until they become an habit?
Yeah, that's a very good question. For me, you know what works a lot? When I go through this kind of situations or other situations, and I handle them, can be that I handle them well, can be that I handle them poorly, can be that whatever. I always like to do some self-reflection afterwards to see what worked for me, what didn't work. And what really works for me is that when I don't achieve it, I don't perform in the way that I want it, or to the extent that, to the level that I had thought that I would like to, is to make a short visualization exercise and see how I could have done things differently. Because it's different to say, which is something that I used to say so much, Diana, you can't imagine. I was used to say, going to my partner and said, oh my God, I fucked it up. It was so bad. I didn't do it well. Really, really a lot of negative inner self-talk and everything. And it's different now where I'm said, okay, it's not up to my standards. I handle it poorly. I want to see what can I do differently next time. Not just to say I'm going to do things differently, but really visualize it. And it's a very simple exercise. We can do it together if you want now. And for the people who... Nice.
Let's do it.
Okay, so on the spot. So, the people who are you're listening, I'm going to guide you through this visualization. So take a moment to put your feet on the ground.
Of course, if you're driving, do it in another moment, please.
Just press pause if you're driving. We are not good friends for you right now. But if you're at home and you have a nice and quiet space around you, Take a moment to ground yourself. Just placing your feet on the ground always helps. Roll your shoulders back. And just try to breathe in from your belly. And exhale slowly. And bring in your mind a difficult conversation that you had. Can be a conversation at home, can be at work, in any environment, but something that really triggered you. And now look at this conversation and visualize in which ego state you were. Were you a nurturing or a critical parent? Were you like a child, a free or an adopted one? Or like an adult? And whatever that was, just accept it and acknowledge it as it is. There is no judgment around it. And now simply observe how your ego state triggered a specific ego state on the other side, on the person that you had the conversation with. And simply acknowledge in which ego state they were. In the parent, child, or adult. And now that you have them both, try to visualize how would you like to respond differently. Perhaps you want to first think from which ego state you would like to respond. Could be the adult, could be one of the others. And see yourself saying things in a different way. Visualize your body being relaxed in this conversation. And give yourself the credit that whatever you are doing now, it comes from a peaceful place. So it's great. And with this warm thought in mind, take a deep breath in. Exhale slowly. Take another deep breath in. And exhale and open your eyes. Open your eyes.
Ah, so powerful. It's incredible. And thinking about it, I was one of those people that thought visualization was something that the hippies do, like people that are very spiritual, very, it's not something that my practical mind could really understand.
I'm with you.
But then you experience it and it opens your eyes literally to how the mind works. And there is so much research behind how our mind works and why visualization is such a powerful tool in the sense of how it can rewire how our internal systems work. So it's really something that I never thought I would do when I was younger. But now I'm firmly believe that it's something that can help people really experience that difference and help them be that different person next time. So thank you so much for this.
No, happy that I shared it, and I connect so much with what you're saying, because I used to be this kind of person who's like, okay, on one hand we have formal learning, things need to come only out of frameworks and these things, and on the other hand I've always loved dancing, theater, and everything creative, but I thought of them as two separate words. And when I got introduced into coaching, which is also how we met a couple of years ago, I realized the power of not only visualizations, but really embodied learning in general. And I was so shocked. And one of the very first things that I learned with coaching, because I've been teaching coaching for 8 years now, is that everything happens twice, once in our head and in our body, and once in reality. And we can never change what happens in the reality, but we can really change what happens internally, because this is where we have the control over. And if we visualize it, yeah, we create new neurons, and next time they will remember, because body remembers.
Wow. And it's so true, because we think about it in terms of sports or things that, the body learns how to do things in an automatic way, and it's less frightening in a way to think about this in those terms. But when we think about the power of our mind, you think about it and you say, wow, there is so much that we don't know yet, or that we don't fully grasp, that sometimes you think, wow.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, I agree. I'm astonished with the whole field, and with our work. I mean, as learning and development professionals, we are so lucky that this is our day-to-day job, to explore these things, to keep ourselves sharp, and see how we can support people in their development. Yeah.
Definitely. And just sharing our experience with such tools so that people can be a little bit more open. If I think about myself a few years ago, when I started thinking, okay, I can't do it anymore. I need to find something because it's not working. I always feel like something is missing. When I started that, I was like, okay, but what? And, you can do a lot of research on your own and you can find ways. But I think that having the experience of other people and trying things that other people worked for other people, it's a good way to start. And then it may not work for you, but it's at least you have tried, and maybe you find things that work for you. So that's what I always like to do, in the sense of, those are the things that work for me. It doesn't mean that it will work for you, but if you want, you can give it a try, right?
Exactly. It has to be an invitation, always an invitation, nothing forceful.
But it doesn't work. I think with the work we do, we realize that there is no way to change someone and to impose development or growth. It has to come within.
Yeah, it really has to come from within. Yeah. So I think the best way is to support people, just do this, offer different tools and provide frame and space for self-reflection, peer learning, because there should be always something to be picked up from a session or from a learning experience. Cannot be that everything resonates with everyone. That's impossible by nature. But if there is one thing that people can get out of a workshop, for me, that's already good enough. I'm like, good. I've supported it.
And that's what I like to do in my recordings. It's really, we talk always about a lot of things. And in the end, I always ask, and I want you to also think about, if you could just one thing out of all the discussion that we had, that they can take away with them, what will that be?
Yeah, you're an excellent coach, aren't you? I love this question. Yeah, it's really wonderful. It connects people to the next action, to the next thing that they can do. It makes things specific, applicable, which is very, very important in learning and development. Not just go through information or go through things, but really see how we can connect the dots and make sure that people at least have a chance to see how they can apply the new learning.
Definitely, because learning, you can have all the knowledge in the world, But if you don't apply anything, it will forever stay in your mind, yeah, I have all this knowledge, but I'm not doing anything about it. And so we as humans, sometimes we are stuck in this, I'm not ready for it phase, or I need this, that, or the other thing to start, or to put myself out there, or to start something new. But I think in the action is the solution, because even if you will never be fully ready. There is no perfection. And so in the small steps, it's where you can find the learnings and the different things that you can then apply even more.
Yeah, you couldn't be more right. I mean, I resonate so much with when you say that. When I work with people, what I see is that sometimes what we do seems something like it's too difficult, because they're like, for example, in the difficult conversations, they're like, yeah, but I'm in the heat of the moment, and then it's so difficult for me to pause and self-reflect and everything. And I'm like, you're right. You're completely right. That's because let's see how we've set now the bar really high. So how can we take it one step lower? Like, for example, apply a framework or something that we are learning in a situation that happens when it happens in a more comfortable space, let's say with your spouse or with your kids or with a neighbor, or something that it's a bit easier, just to make one little step towards applying the learning before you bring it on to the next stakeholders meeting, for example.
Yeah,
How can
maybe not, don't try it with your highest hierarchy
not
at work.
time if you don't feel comfortable with that, no. But instead of saying, okay, it's too high, I'm just gonna keep it, as you said, at the back of my mind and keep the thing for myself. No, can I apply it in a more safe environment, something that really helps me to grow? And then when I feel that I'm confident enough, then can I go? I can go.
The small momentum that builds over time with the small actions and the commitment we make to ourselves to continue going, even if it's not easy. Because let's be honest, even with difficult conversation, if they were easy, we wouldn't have to apply a framework. It's difficult, it's uncomfortable, but it gives you so much in the long term to be able to manage the situation, to be able to be self-aware of your triggers or the things that are really making you go in one of the ego states. So just building that awareness, it's already a big step toward growing and learning.
Yeah, completely, yeah. It's the first step. It's the first step, and then you can just build on that. That's a beauty.
Yes. So as we are coming to a closure, I want to ask you if our
Already.
listening, yes, it's a short podcast. I like to keep it around 30 minutes just to make sure that people have the food for thought, but then they go and do something about it. What
I
is
love
the
it.
what is the one thing that you think, if they had to take away from this episode, what would be the one thing that you say it's the most important for their growth?
I would say being in the here and now, being in the moment. For me, that would be it. Yeah.
So powerful, but requires practice and those small steps that we discussed up to now.
Exactly. It requires a lot, and it sounds simple, and it is simple, but a bit difficult to be done for all of us eventually. Yeah. But yeah, being present, being in the here and now, that would be it for me. And for you, I'm curious.
It's really about that self-awareness, I think. And it comes with the being present in the now, because if you are in the future or in the past, you will never be self-aware. But I think that building that self-awareness, whether you're an individual contributor, a leader even more, it's really key for anyone, because if you don't have that self-awareness, it's hard to implement anything. So that's for me a key aspect for anyone that wants to grow.
Yeah, completely agree. Yes.
And visualization. Try it out. Nice. Thank you so much, Lena. It was amazing talking to you and having this amazing visualization session that was not planned, but I really appreciate it.
Lovely, thank you too. I mean, I love doing things on the spot, and it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure when we do things together, and I wish lots of success for the podcast and all your new endeavors.
Same for your new platform. I'm looking forward to hear more about that. This episode is over. However, you can like, subscribe, and follow for more content.